The Rambam dedicated 2 prokim to Hilchas Chanukah. Perek Aleph and Beis are Dina Megillah, Purim. Perek Gimel Daled, Dina Chanukah. Perek Gimel is all about Hallel, all the dinim of Hallel. Perek Daled is Lukas na Chanukah. So many times I said, and don't take this seriously, I say it with a touch of humor. If the Rambam would tell me, I decided kol ha-Torah kula, I paskened every halacha. And this is a feat no one did besides the Rambam. From A to Z. From mitzvah Aleph to mitzvah Tariyag. All the halachas of Torah's Moshe, bein dvorim hanahagim bisman hazeh, bein dvorim she'einam nahagim hazeh, the Rambam decided every din, every halacha kol ha-Torah kula. The Rambam tells me, I also decided, and this is amazing genius, that Kol HaTorah Kula fits into 14 different categories. And those are the 14 Svarim of Mishnah Torah. And every mitzvah, every halacha must fit in to one of these 14 categories. And the Rambam said, I did all of this. Just do some technical work, help me. These are the halachas, these are the categories. Just fit in everything and just put it together. And that's like a technical job that Ois V'Hodor and Mechon Yerushalayim and everybody does. I definitely would put the dinam of Halal into Sefer Ahavo, together with Broches, Tefillah, Kriya Shema. That's why I would put Halal. And that's why the Rambam didn't ask me to do this. Because the Rambam understands differently. And the Rambam puts all the halachas of Halal in Sefer Zmanim, in Dafke and Chanukah. And why? Every Yom Tov has its essence, its mahus. The mahus of Chanukah is V'kovu shmoines yemei Chanukah elu lahoidois ulahalel. Another nusach is Kovu shmoinis yemei Chanukah ele b'halel v'hoidoya. Hadlokas haner is the mitzvah. It's a zeichel hanes. It's not the mahus. The mahus of Chanukah is halal v'hoidoya. And that is why the Rambam writes all the dinim of halal, not only halal Chanukah, all the dinim of halal, all are in Hilchas Chanukah, because that is the essence, that's the mahus of Chanukah. Chanukah is a time in which a person must stop and think and reflect and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the niggin, the song everybody sings on Chanukah is Mois Tu Yishuosi. And this song starts with the Tefillah La'osid. And then it goes through our entire history. Coming to Eretz Yisrael and building the Bayis Rishon. And the Churban of Bayis Rishon. And Golas Bavel. And then Binyan Bayis Sheni. And the story of Haman, which is not directly associated with Chanukah, that's Purim. But we tell the story of Haman. And then we come to the Avonim. And once again, the last Bayis is Tzoyak Ala Osid, Tzipio Liyeshua. Because when a person thanks HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he always needs to go back, like we do Beleila Seder, and we start from Arami Yoivedovi. When you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you always need to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the big picture, for all his chasodim, going all the way back to days of yore, and appreciating Chazdei Shemayim. What is also unique about Chanukah is the Hoidoya. It is the only Yom Tov in which we remember and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for victory in war. No other Zman. Pesach is about Yetzias Ma'avdos L'Cheres. Sukkah, Anani HaKavod. Shavuos, Matan Torah. Purim, Bitul HaGzera Shel Haman. Chanukah is about the Netzochen of the Chashmonoim. And at Tfilas Al Nisum, we don't even mention the Nes of Pach HaShemen. Nosata Gaborim Biyad Chaloshim, Rabim Biyad Ma'atim. We thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for victory. So what was the war all about? We know from history, and the story of the Avonim we have is well documented, not in Sifrei Kisvei HaKodesh, but a reliable source of Sefer HaMakkabim, which was written b'shas in real time, Megillas Antiochus. Matisyahu not only had to fight the Greeks, the mighty Greek armies, he also needed to deal with the Hellenists, the Messiavnim, and they were a big part of Klal Yisrael. And they argued with Matisyahu, you're crazy. You're going to go to war? We don't have the means to fight this war. Greek is the mightiest empire of the day. Where are your armies? And why? They're not here to kill us. The Greeks aren't talking about the final solution. It's not Haman that plans lahashmed lehareg eleyaved. They're intelligent people. They brought enlightenment to the world. You know, Western society is based primarily on the early Greeks. Different forms of governance. They played with democracy, philosophy, art, sports. We could talk, we could negotiate. And Matisyahu says we cannot negotiate with la'ashkicham terosecho or la'avirem mochu keretzenecho. It's not negotiable. This is an existential threat. It's life or death. La'ashkicham terosecho is killing us. We can't negotiate, we need to fight. How do you expect to win? And he says, I expect to win because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is on our side. Without HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we can't win. You're right. With HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can't lose. And if we need to fight, and that is the question, do we need? If we need to fight, we'll win. And fought they did, and win they did. And those were the Nisim. So this Shabbos, tomorrow, is my father's yortzeit. And a yortzeit is always a time of reflection. So let me tell you a story about my father, and I think I told you this probably last year or 2 years ago. My father and his family arrived in Auschwitz, first day Shavuos, 1944. That very same day, his grandparents, father, mother, 5 out of 8 siblings were sent directly to the gas chambers and the crematoria. He and 2 younger brothers were sent left to life. My great Rebbe, the Kloisenberger Rebbe, arrived in Auschwitz 1 day later, second day Shavuos, 1944. That very same day, his wife and 10 children were sent to the gas chambers. He and his oldest son were sent to life, and his only surviving son died from typhoid a week after the liberation. And my father heard that the Kloisenberger Rebbe arrived at his one barracks next to the one my father was in. In the middle of the night, he sneaked out, went into the other building, looked up the Kloisenberger Rebbe, and he told them, it'll be such a schus for me to get close to you, to get to know you, to be mishamish you. The Rebbe was taken aback. He looks at my father and he says, Bocha, the mindset that up is helfen, said the Gunish helfen. I look at your faces. Anybody understood what I said? Put up your hand. So no one understood. So the Rebbe tells my father, young boy, if you think it's going to do you any good to be close to me, it's not going to do you any good. And my father responded and he said, of course it's going to do me good because we could talk on learning. And the Rebbe was surprised. Then he said, young boy, you're in Auschwitz and you want to talk on learning. And my father said, of course they do, because otherwise how will we prevail? How will we survive? And the Rebbe was moved. He gave him a big hug. And they talked on learning for the next 12 months. And they talked on learning for the next 45 years. And whenever I tell this story, I say what my father felt instinctively as a young 18-year-old yeshiva boy, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai felt 2,000 years ago. And in the days of the Churban, when he finally meets the Roman commander Vespasian, known as Aspasianus Caesar, And miraculously, the Roman general seems to like the Jewish scholar. And he says, I just got a notification I'm called to go back to Rome. Make a wish and it'll be granted. Do you all remember what he asked for? What was his first request? Ten li Yavna v'chachameo. I want Yavna. Because the Yochanan Mezakeh knows that the Beis Mikdash is doomed. And he also knows that the only guarantee for our future is Yavna v'chachameo. We have yeshivas, we live. We learn, we live. We don't learn, we die. And as my father told his great Rebbe, we need to talk and learning, because otherwise, how will we prevail? And that's the story of Hanukkah. So Matis Yom says, we cannot negotiate, we cannot talk, because they insist on Lashkicham Torosecha. Without Torah, we cannot live. This is the oxygen we breathe. This is what keeps us going. And this is what we've been doing for thousands of years. And this is how we survived from one Golos to the other. And many times they say, when you look back 200 years, Jews were scattered across the globe. If a Yemenite Jew, a Taimani, would meet a Jew from Amsterdam, a Chassid from Warsaw would sit down with a Yekka from Berlin. What could they do together? They didn't share a common tongue. They didn't understand one another. Different manners, different cultures. They couldn't even eat together because schuk doesn't go well with gefilte fish. So about 10 months ago, I visited a kitchen, and that was an amazing experience. Satmar Chassid built a kitchen that supplied 1,000 meals every Erev Shabbos for Almonis and Yisoimim in Yerushalayim. When this war broke out, 3 people came together. Teitelbaum, that built this kitchen, the Yazdi family from Ramat HaGolan, totally secular family, but they had a son in an elite unit. And a Yid is a Yid, and a Yiddish Hearts is a Yiddish Hearts. And the mother of this boy serving in Maglan felt she wants to do mitzvahs. And the merit of her son, Kodesh Baruch Hu should watch over her son. So she started distributing food for soldiers. And the third party was a frum Haredi guy from Ramat Bet Shemesh, an American. They invested millions of dollars, upgraded the kitchen, and they supplied 16,000 meals for soldiers in Gaza and in Lebanon every year of Shabbos. So I went to encourage them, and they wanted to give me something, so they gave me Jachanun for Shabbos. I asked, what is this? How do you eat this? Is it a type of ice cream? I don't know what it is. They told me, put it into the chunt and it'll be great. I put it into the chunt. It wasn't great. But anyway, what could they do together? They couldn't even eat together. And when the Varshav Chassid would put his hand into a bowl of arbis, from the bowl into his mouth, back into the bowl, the Yekka would run out of the room. What could they do together? The siddur of one would be totally unfamiliar to the other. They couldn't daven together. The only thing they shared is talk and learning. That's what we shared for 1,000 years. So the Mishnah was written in Eretz Yisrael, and the Gemara Bavli in Bavel. The Rambam writes his monumental work in Spain. The Beis Yosef follows his footsteps in Sfas. And it was the primary massacre on the Beis Yosef, the Ramo, going to Krakow. We span the world in one endeavor. We talked and learning. And that is how we lived. And that's what kept us going. So Matis Yori says to the Hellenists, to the Misyavnim, we have no option, no other option. We need to go to war because this is a matter of life and death. We cannot negotiate with Lashkicham Terusach. How will we win? Matis Yori says, I don't know, but we fight. And Matisyahu paid a terrible price. 3 out of his 5 children were killed in war. 3 out of his 5 children he lost in battle. And nevertheless, the Yidden were victorious, and the Gzeira was bottled, and they could go back learning Torah. And that was the Simcha. And that is what we need to remember. So Hanukkah must be a time of chizuk and chizuk of Torah, because that's what Hanukkah was all about. So Ashreinu ma'toiv chalkeinu, that we could sit and learn Yom and V'layla. And as I said before, the only Yom Tov we have in which we commemorate and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the Tzochan b'Malchama is Hanukkah. So every year, these gulas are renewed, and the same Rachamei Shemayim come back to the world. So we daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Ramah in Hilchas Chanukah says that if you forgot to say Al Nisim in Birchas Hamazon, you say Hu Rachamon. And that's our tefillah today. Hu Rachamon, Hu Yas Alonu Nisim Kishem Shasisu Lavoseinu B'Yom HaMehem B'Zman Hazeh. We should see Nisim and Aflois. The war should be over. Everyone should come safely home. And we should be able, Lilmoid, Ulalamed, Lishma Velasas, Lahagdol Torah Ulodira, Ad Biaz Goyal Tzedek, B'Mheru V'Yomeinu Amen. Have a good Shabbos and a listige Hanukkah.